The glass shattered before the words even came. It was 2:13
I told you I
a.m.
have a meeting.
The sound echoed through the dim apartment like a gunshot, slicing through the silence that had lived there for years. A wine glass lay in pieces across the marble floor, deep red liquid spreading like a wound that refused to close. June stood frozen, his chest rising and falling like a man who had just escaped drowning. "You don't even see me anymore, Hannah," his voice cracked, low but burning. Across from him, Hannah didn't flinch. She stood in her tailored office suit, her laptop bag still hanging from her shoulder, her phone buzzing endlessly in her hand.
Why won't you just talk to me?
Her eyes were tired, but not
There's
from
nothing
him.
left to say.
From work.
Look at this mess.
"I told you I
can't
had a
just
meeting,"
ignore it.
she replied coldly,
Maybe it's
stepping
better
over
this
the
way.
broken glass without looking down. That was the moment something died. And something else began. June used to love mornings. Back when Hannah would wake before him, cooking soft rice and soup, humming quietly like a woman building a home with love. But that was years ago. Now, mornings were empty. The kitchen was silent. The bed was cold. And Hannah was always gone. June worked from home as a freelance game designer, his world existing inside screens and silent rooms. At first, he thought it was a blessing, more time with his wife. But instead, it became a prison. Every day felt the same. Emails. Deadlines. Silence. And loneliness. "Hannah, will you be home early today?" he asked
Hannah,
one
will you
morning,
be home
standing by
today?
the doorway as she adjusted
I
her
will
blazer.
try.
She didn't even look at him. "I'll try." That word "try" had become her shield. And her excuse. The door shut.
I don't need you
June
to try.
stood there
I need
for
you
a
to
long
stay.
time. "I don't need you to try," he whispered to the empty hallway. "I need you to stay." 3 weeks later, Hannah came home earlier than usual.
Someone.
But
A
not
maid.
for him.
She will handle the
"I've hired
chores.
someone," she said, placing her bag on the
housemaid?
table. June looked up from his laptop. "Someone? A house help. She'll handle cooking, cleaning, everything." There was a pause. "I thought, maybe we could do those things together," June said quietly. Hannah sighed, already scrolling through her phone. "June, I don't have time for that kind of life." That sentence pierced deeper than any insult. That kind of life. As if their marriage was a burden. As if love was inconvenient. "She starts tomorrow," Hannah added, walking toward the bedroom. "Don't make it awkward." The door closed. June sat still, staring at the blank screen in front of him. Something inside him whispered, "This is the beginning of something dangerous." The next morning, the doorbell rang. June opened it slowly. And there she stood. Tall. Quiet. Composed. Her skin was deep and rich like polished ebony, her eyes calm but observant. She carried a small bag, dressed simply, yet there was something about her presence, something grounded. "Good morning, sir," she said softly, bowing slightly. "My name is Amara." Her accent carried a blend African roots with Korean softness.
My name is Amara.
"Afro-Korean?" June asked, almost without
Afro-Korean?
thinking. She nodded. "My mother is from Nigeria. My father is Korean." There was a brief silence. Then she smiled faintly. "I hope I can serve this home well." June stepped aside. "Come in." And just like that, a stranger walked into a broken home. The change was immediate. By noon, the house smelled different. Alive. Food simmered on the stove, rich, warm, inviting. June stood in the kitchen doorway, watching Amara move with quiet grace. "You cook, like someone who cares," he said. She paused slightly. "Food should carry love," she replied. That word again. Love. Something he hadn't felt in a long time. They ate together in silence that day. But it wasn't empty silence. It was peaceful. "How long have you worked as a house help?" June asked. "A few years," she said. "I send money home." "To Nigeria?" She nodded. June studied her for a moment. "You don't seem like someone who belongs in the background." Amara gave a small smile. Sometimes, the background is where people hide their strength. That answer lingered in his mind. Long after the conversation ended. Days turned into weeks.
Hi, Hannah. How was your day?
Hannah became even
Yeah, join us
busier.
for dinner.
Sometimes
just
she
going to
didn't
her
come
room.
home at all. When she did, she was too exhausted to speak. One night, June tried again. Hannah, can we talk? I'm tired, June. We haven't spent time together in months. I'm building our future, she snapped. At what cost? He shot back. Silence. Heavy. Thick. Dangerous. And Hannah looked at him, her eyes sharp. You wanted a successful wife. This is what success looks like. No, June said quietly. I wanted a wife. That night, they slept facing opposite directions. Two strangers sharing one bed. Amara noticed everything. The silence. The distance. The pain. One evening, she found June sitting alone in the dark living room. Sir, are you okay? He laughed bitterly. Do I look okay? She didn't answer. She simply sat down across from him. That alone meant more than words. I used to pray for a marriage like mine, June said slowly. Now I pray just to feel something again. Amara lowered her eyes. Pain can make people forget who they are, she said softly. June looked at her. And what about you? She hesitated. I learned early not to expect too much from people. There was a long silence. Then June whispered. I think that's what's killing me. Their eyes met. And something shifted. Something quiet. But dangerous. It happened on a rainy evening. Hannah had called she wouldn't be coming home. Again. June stood by the window, watching the rain hit the glass like unanswered prayers. Amara approached slowly. You should eat something. I'm not hungry. She placed the food down anyway. You need strength, even for sadness. That made him smile slightly. For the first time in weeks. Why are you kind to me? He asked. Amara hesitated. Because no one should feel invisible. That word hit him hard. Invisible. That's exactly what he had become. Without thinking, June reached out. And held her hand. Time froze. Amara didn't pull away immediately. But when she did, it was gentle. We shouldn't, she whispered. I know, June said. But neither of them moved. And deep down, they both knew. A line had been crossed. Far away, in a quiet hospital room, Hannah sat alone. Her expression was different here. Not cold. Not distant. But fragile. A nurse approached her. The child is healthy, she said. Hannah closed her eyes slowly. Has anyone asked about the father? No. Hannah exhaled in relief. Good. She looked through the glass window. At a baby. Her baby. June's baby. A child he didn't even know existed. I'm doing this for us, she whispered, tears finally falling. Even if you hate me now. What June didn't know was that Hannah had once been pregnant, but she chose her career. She ended it. And guilt never left her. So she made a decision. A secret. A dangerous one. She chose surrogacy. Without telling him. Because she believed one thing. Love could wait. But time doesn't wait for love. Back at the apartment. The rain hadn't stopped. And neither had the silence between June and Amara. They stood too close. Breathing the same air. Fighting something neither of them wanted to name. This is wrong, Amara said softly. I know, June replied. But it feels like the only thing that's real. That was the moment everything changed. Not with a kiss. Not yet. But with acceptance. The kind that leads to destruction. That night, a decision was made. A choice that would destroy 3 lives. And awaken a secret that was never meant to be revealed. What happens when loneliness turns into love? What happens when a hidden child enters a broken marriage? And who will June choose when truth finally comes out? If this story is already pulling you in, hit like to support more powerful stories like this. Comment. Subscribe for deep, emotional African Korean stories that stay with you forever. The storm didn't end that night. It only moved inside them. The rain fell harder, like the sky itself was trying to warn them. Inside the house, the lights flickered once. Twice. Then steadied. June stood inches away from Amara, his hand still trembling from the moment he touched hers. "Say something," he whispered. Amara's voice was barely audible. "We are standing on something that cannot hold us." But neither of them stepped back. The loneliness in June's chest roared louder than reason. "I've been alone in my own marriage," he said. "I don't even remember what it feels like to be seen, until you came." Amara closed her eyes. "That doesn't make this right." "No," June replied. "But it makes it real." Silence. Heavy. Then slowly. Like 2 people surrendering to gravity. They moved closer. Not out of lust. But out of hunger. For warmth. For presence. For something that felt alive. That night, a boundary wasn't just crossed. It was erased. Morning came too quickly. The house looked the same. But nothing inside it was. Amara was already in the kitchen when June walked in. Her movements were slower, more careful, as if every step carried weight. "Good morning," he said. She didn't turn. "Breakfast is ready." Her tone had changed. Professional. Distant. Like she was building a wall overnight. June leaned against the counter. "Are we going to pretend nothing happened?" Amara finally looked at him. Her eyes held something deeper than regret. "Some things should not be spoken into existence." "That's not how this works," June said, his voice tightening. "That's exactly how it works," she replied quietly. "We forget. Or we destroy everything." June clenched his jaw. "I don't want to forget." Amara's gaze softened for a brief second. "That's the problem." That evening, Hannah returned home earlier than usual. But something about her felt off. She stood at the doorway longer than necessary, as if she could sense a shift in the air. "June," she called. "I'm here." He walked out from the living room. Their eyes met. And for the first time in a long time, Hannah studied him. "You look different." June forced a faint smile. "Do I?" She nodded slowly. "Like you found something." That sentence lingered too long. June looked away. "Maybe I just stopped waiting." Hannah froze. "Waiting for what?" "For you." Silence fell like a hammer. Amara, from the kitchen, paused mid-step.
I told you not to
She
go
could hear
there.
everything.
You can't tell me what to do.
Feel everything.
This is my house.
Hannah
So
placed
what?
her bag
I'm
down
not your
slowly.
maid.
Then leave.
"I told you
Fine.
I'm doing this for us." "And I told you," June replied, "I didn't ask for this version of you." Hannah's voice sharpened. "You wanted stability. I wanted love." Her eyes flickered for a moment. But instead of softening, she hardened. "You're being emotional again." June laughed bitterly. "And you're not being human at all." That night, Hannah couldn't sleep. She sat alone in the dark, her phone glowing in her hand. A message blinked on the screen. "The baby is growing well. When will you come again?" Hannah stared at it for a long time. Then typed, "Soon." She hesitated. Then added, "Has anyone asked questions?" Reply. No. Everything is still confidential. Hannah exhaled slowly. Her hand trembled as she placed the phone down. I'm fixing this, she whispered to herself. I'm fixing everything. But deep down, even she wasn't sure anymore. Days passed. And what should have ended continued. Quietly. Dangerously. June and Amara became careful. No more obvious moments. No more lingering touches in open spaces. But the connection? It only grew stronger. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered softly into the living room, June found Amara folding clothes. You've been avoiding me, he said. I've been protecting us,
Hey,
she
need a
replied
hand?
without looking up. From what? From
You seem
consequences.
busy.
June stepped closer. And what if I don't care about consequences anymore? Amara finally met his gaze. Then you are not thinking clearly. I've never been clearer, he said. Her voice dropped. You are married. And you are the only person who feels like home. That broke something inside her. You don't mean that. I do. No, she whispered, shaking her head. You mean? I am filling a space. June didn't answer. Because a part of him knew. She was right. But another part didn't care anymore. It happened again. And again. Not out of recklessness. But out of need. Each time, the guilt grew heavier. But so did the attachment. One night, after everything, Amara lay still, staring at the ceiling. June, she said softly. Yes? If this destroys your marriage, will you regret me? He turned to her. No. She closed her eyes. You should. Weeks later, Amara stood in the bathroom, staring at the small object in her hand. Her fingers trembled. Her breathing uneven. 2 lines. Clear. Unmistakable. She sank slowly to the floor. No, she whispered. Tears filled her eyes. This cannot happen. But it had. Life. Growing. From a mistake. From a moment. From something that was never meant to exist. That evening, she couldn't hold it in anymore. June, we need to talk. Her voice was different. Serious. Heavy. He felt it instantly. What is it? Amara hesitated. Then finally said it. I'm pregnant. The world stopped. June blinked. Once. Twice. What? Her voice broke. It's yours. Silence exploded in the room. June stepped back slowly, as if reality had just struck him physically. No, this wasn't supposed to. That's what I said, she whispered. His hands ran through his hair. This is bad, this is really bad. Amara looked at him, pain flashing across her face. Bad? I didn't mean. What did you mean, June? She asked, her voice trembling. I mean, this changes everything. Yes, she said. It does. The silence after the door opened was louder than any scream. Hannah stood frozen. Her eyes moved slowly from June to Amara and then back again. She didn't need an explanation. She felt it. The distance. The betrayal. The truth. What is going on here? Her voice came out low, controlled, but trembling underneath. June's throat tightened. Hannah. Amara stepped back slightly, her hands instinctively moving to her stomach. That small movement did not go unnoticed. Hannah's eyes dropped. Then rose again, sharper this time. Why are you standing like that? She asked quietly. Amara said nothing. June closed his eyes for a brief second. Then he said it. She's pregnant. The world shattered. Hannah didn't scream. She didn't cry. Not immediately. She laughed. A hollow, broken sound that didn't belong to her. Pregnant, she repeated slowly. Her eyes locked onto Amara. How long? Amara swallowed. A few weeks. Hannah nodded slowly, as if processing something too heavy to carry. Then suddenly, she grabbed the nearest object and threw it across the room. It crashed violently against the wall. You brought her into my house, she shouted, her voice finally breaking. You let her cook for me, serve me, stand in front of me like she wasn't sleeping with my husband? June stepped forward. Hannah, listen. Don't touch me, she snapped, stepping back as if his presence burned. Her breathing became uneven. Her hands shaking. Tell me, she said, her voice dropping again. Tell me when my marriage became a joke. June had no answer. Because the truth had no defense. Hannah turned to Amara. Her eyes were no longer cold. They were wounded. You, she whispered. I trusted you in my home. Amara lowered her head. I'm sorry. That word only made it worse. Sorry? Hannah repeated. Do you think sorry carries the weight of what you've done? Amara's voice trembled. No, it doesn't. Then why? Hannah demanded.
How could you do this to me?
Silence. Then
You lied
finally,
to me.
Amara spoke.
Look at me and say
Because
something.
he was breaking, and I saw it. Hannah froze. Her gaze shifted slowly back to June. Breaking, she echoed. June looked down. I tried to tell you. Hannah's chest rose sharply. So this is my fault? No, June said quickly. That's not what I'm saying. But that's what you mean, she snapped. You were lonely, so you replaced me? I didn't replace you, he shouted back. You left long before this happened. That hit her hard. Silence fell again. But this time, Hannah broke first. You think I left, she said slowly. Her voice was different now. Not angry. Not cold. But tired. You have no idea what I did for this marriage. June frowned. What are you talking about? Hannah laughed bitterly. You think I chose work over you because I didn't care? Then why? June demanded. Why did you push me away? Her eyes filled with tears. Because I already lost our first child. The words dropped like thunder. June froze. What? Amara looked up slowly. Hannah's lips trembled. I was pregnant, June, she said. Years ago. The room went still. You never told me, June whispered. I couldn't, she replied. I had just been promoted. Everything I worked for was on the line. June's voice shook. So you chose your career over our child? Hannah closed her eyes. I thought I could fix it later. A tear slid down her cheek. So I did something you were never meant to find out. June's heart pounded. What did you do? Hannah looked at him. Straight into his soul. I found a surrogate. The air left June's lungs. A surrogate? Hannah nodded. I couldn't carry the guilt of what I did. So I made sure you would still have a child. June stepped back slowly, disbelief written all over his face. You did all of that, without telling me? I was going to tell you when everything was perfect, she cried. When the child was here, when my career was stable, when we could finally be a family again. Amara's hand tightened over her stomach. Hannah continued, her voice breaking apart. I thought I was protecting us. Building something better. June shook his head slowly. No, you were building it alone. That truth cut deeper than anything else. The room held 3 people. But it felt like a battlefield. One carrying guilt. One carrying life. one carrying regret. So what now? June asked quietly. No one answered. Because there was no simple answer. Hannah looked at Amara. Then at her stomach. Then back at June. Is this what you want? She asked. Her voice was calm. Too calm. A new life, with her? June hesitated. And in that hesitation, everything was revealed. Hannah nodded slowly. I see. She picked up her bag. I won't fight for a place I've already lost. That night, Hannah left. No shouting. No more tears. Just silence. June stood in the empty house, the weight of everything crashing down at once. Amara stood behind him. We didn't win, she whispered. June didn't respond. Because deep down, he felt it too. This wasn't victory. It was loss. Days turned into weeks. June tried to move forward. Tried to accept the new reality. Tried to build something with Amara. But peace never came. Every corner of the house reminded him of Hannah. Every silence echoed her absence. One night, he sat alone, head in his hands. I thought this would make me happy, he whispered. Amara stood by the doorway. You're not at peace. He shook his head. Neither are you. She looked away. Because it was true. Their love was born from pain. And it carried that pain within it. In a quiet apartment across the city, Hannah sat beside a crib. A baby slept peacefully inside. Her child. June's child. The one he didn't know. She reached out, gently touching the baby's hand. I tried to fix everything, she whispered. Tears fell silently. But I lost you instead. For the first time in her life, success felt empty. Months passed. But something remained. A connection. Unfinished. Unresolved. One evening, June stood outside Hannah's apartment. His heart pounding. He raised his hand. Then lowered it. Then finally knocked. The door opened slowly. Hannah stood there. They stared at each other. No anger. No shouting. Just pain. I'm sorry, June said. Hannah's lips trembled. Me too. Inside the apartment, June saw the crib. His steps slowed. What is this? Hannah didn't speak. She simply moved aside. June walked closer. And then he saw the baby. His breath caught. Hannah? Her voice was soft. This is your child. The world stopped again. June dropped to his knees beside the crib. Tears filled his eyes. You really. Hannah nodded. I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to show it. June broke down. I destroyed everything. No, Hannah said gently. We both did. Days later, June sat with Amara. She already knew. I can see it in your eyes, she said softly. June's voice was heavy. I never stopped loving her. Amara nodded slowly, tears falling. And I never wanted to take her place. Silence. Then she placed his hand on her stomach. This child will still have you. June's voice broke. I won't abandon you. I know, she said. But your heart has already chosen. That was the hardest goodbye. Not filled with anger, but understanding. Time passed. Not perfectly, but slowly. Healing began. June returned to Hannah. Not as the same man, but as one who had learned the cost of neglect. Hannah softened. Not as the same woman, but as one who understood that success means nothing without presence. Together, they began again. Not perfect, but real. And at peace. What destroys a home is not always hatred, but silence. What breaks love is not always betrayal, but neglect. And what restores it is grace. If this story touched you, like to support more deep emotional stories. Comment, Grace restores if you believe love deserves a second chance. Subscribe for powerful African Korean stories that change lives. Because sometimes, the greatest love stories are the ones that almost didn't survive.
I missed you so much.
I missed you too. This is so nice.
You look beautiful today.
Thank you. You always make me smile.
Let's go for a walk.
I love that.